Hi everyone, back to channel. Today we are going to see about Vibrio. In Vibrio, it has three species, that is cholera, parahemolyticus and vulnificus. But the cholera is the most important species, so we are learning about it. And the family is Vibrionaceae and the genus is Vibrio. So let us say about Vibrio. It's widely distributed, especially in water, and the short, curved, rod-shaped and gram-negative rods. Here you can see gram-negative. But when they are like close to each other, they look like S-shape somewhat. Here you can see. And when they are like normal structures, they look like fishes in a stream of water. And the morphology and staining, here you can see they are having a single polar flagellum. They are non-capsulated, no capsule around them, and they are non-sporing. That doesn't form any kind of spores. And the cultural characteristics are they're aerobes, that is facultative anaerobes, that is neither obligate aerobes nor obligate anaerobes, that is they can live both in the presence of oxygen and in the absence of oxygen, and they require just an ordinary medium like nutrient agar, blood agar or mac concase agar, and the optimum temperature is 37, but the optimum pH is important, that is 8.2. Why it is important, so we are going to see. So you can see they are like fish-like structure in our water, like appearance in our culture. And we also use a selective culture. Sometimes you can say the different types of culture. We can use selective media like thiosulfate, citrate, bile salt, sucrose, all together known as TCBS agar. And we can also use the alkaline bile salt agar, that is BSA. And also the Mansour's gelatin taurocolate, tryptocurase tellurate agar, that is GT3A. So all these agars also can be used. And the transport media, actually in India we use the Venkatraman Ramakrishnan medium, that is VR medium. And we also use the Carey Blair medium and also autoclave seawater. And the enrichment media is mainly the alkaline peptone water and also taurocolate tellurate peptone water. So these both peptone waters are used. Why? Because their high pH suppress growth of the commensals. That is, they don't allow any other organisms, only allow the Vibrio cholera growth. So we can easily use it as a transport medium. And also we can incubate it for 6 to 8 hours in the enrichment. Only 6 to 8 hours is enough for the growth of the bacterium. So we use them. And the culturing properties, any nutritional equivalence, simple and low is enough, but the main thing is a high pH, that is 8.8 to 9, and the high alkaline water peptone medium is an important medium. And the antigenic structure and classification, this cholera is divided into two groups based on the O cell wall. So based on the O cell wall, there are antigen O1 group and non-antigen O1 group. So the members of O1 group cause the epidemic disease, that is nothing but a cholera, and the members of non-O1 group cause the scattered disease of cholera like, but not cholera. They are just cholera like illness. So here we also have the actually these are nothing but the somatic O antigen and flagellar H antigen. The somatic O antigen, on the basis of this there are 139 serogroups of classification of this cholera based on only somatic O antigen. And next we have some of the biochemical reactions, like they are catalase and oxidase positive, and urease and H2S negative, nitrate reduction is positive, decarboxylation lysine and ornithine, and they liquefy the gelatin. So these are some of the important features. And resistant, yeah, they are no resistance to general chemicals and high temperatures, so they can be killed at 100 degrees, but alkali resistant is high, that is pH 8.8 to 9, so easily killed by acid, and in cold water alive for a long time. So we should always be careful to heat anything before getting contaminated, so always prevent eating contaminated food by heating it and killing the organisms. And the pathogenesis and immunity, actually we can see the clinical features like profuse painless watery diarrhea, effortless vomiting, leads to severe dehydration causing the hemoconcentration, anuria, and also hypovolemic shock. So complications, because in a hypovolemic shock the blood pressure decreases and lead to the shock. So complications are muscular cramps, renal failure, cardiac erythemia, and also pulmonary edema. So all this is caused because of its great virulence factors. So let us see what are the virulence factors. That are cholera, infectious disease of the digestive tract. So the Vibrio cholera flagella pili attached to the human intestinal cell, secreting the cholera enterotoxin. So the virulent factors are flagella, pili and cholera enterotoxin. Especially this cholera enterotoxin enters our intestine and damages, that is, it changes the sodium ion concentration over there. We are going to say it. So the strongest toxin causing diarrhea is the cholera enterotoxin in our small intestine. And what it does actually, the sodium actually should be outside our cell, because when the sodium gets accumulated inside a cell, the water always follows it and lead to accumulation and leading to the loosey stools, that is water filled stools. So clinical findings: watery diarrhea in large volumes, rice water stool especially characteristics, and no red or white blood cells in the stool. So no RBC and stool mucus is found in the stool. And dehydration, of course, there is lot of loss of water, disturbance of water and electrolyte, and also cardiac and renal failure if it is causing chronic disease, so if untreated. So you can see how they are getting dehydrated all over the body, and you can see how the stomach has got bloated over here. And the mortality rate without the treatment is 40%, so it should be cured, of course. And the laboratory procedures, actually we use the stool or rectal swab to collect it, and we use the transport medium as Kerry Blade transport medium or Venkatraman Ramakrishnan medium. The transport medium is not available. Blotting paper soaked in the watery stool and packed in the plastic envelope should be sent to the laboratory. So if this is the case, if there are no transport mediums available, and if there is delay in culture, enrichment media are used as a save time required for the isolation. Example here, the enrichment media is the alkaline peptone water and the torocholate tellurate peptone water. So this can be used. And the microscopic examination can be done by direct immunofluorescent test or hanging drop preparation. So this we need to remember. Next, you can see it is a notifiable disease, so the investigation to diagnose should be undertaken for sure by that procedures we have discussed. And the resistance we have already discussed. The specimen smears, actually the watery stool sample, isolating alkaline water peptone medium, specific test, serological examination. Principle of prevention and treatment: cholera infectious disease of digestive tract, fecal oral route mainly, so ensuring a clean water and food supply, developing good personal health habits, hand washing, treatment, prompt adequate supplement of water and electrolytes, and the antibiotics application. So what is that antibiotic we use mainly is tetracycline. So there are some queries like an antibiotic sensitivity testing is done by Kibri-Brewer disk diffusion method, and serology test can be done by bacterial suspension is tested by adding the O subgroup I serum, and if positive tested with Ogawa and Inaba sera to detect the serotype. And if the colony is not agglutinated by O subgroup I serum, then it is tested with the anti-sera to antigen. If it is show agglutination, report as non-O1 Vibrio cholera. So the specific anti-sera to the O2 to 139 are available and can be used for the detection. So at present we are using this anti-sera, that is O2 to 139, and it should be sent to the referent laboratory for confirmation, because we directly can't confirm it. It should be of course tested in the laboratory, because of we also need to do the phage typing for it. So how Vibrio can be actually detected? By repeated stool culture, stool collected after the purgative or the bile culture, and also serological test. So treatment, the main treatment we give is the tetracycline in kinds of antibiotics, and if there is fluid and electrolyte replacement, we need to do it because it is leading to a lot of dehydration. So to correct several dehydration by oral rehydration therapy, either alone or supplemented by intravenous fluids. So we can also give intravenous fluids. So there are actually some of the Vibrios are halophilic. So what does it mean? That is, they need the high concentration of sodium chloride for their growth. They can't grow in the presence of it. So they are known as the halophytic Vibrios. In halophytic Vibrios, you can take examples of Parahemolyticus and also Alginolyticus and Vulnificus. So naturally they exist in the seawater because there is more sodium chloride there and have a marine life. So this is all about Vibrio. I hope you like it. And there are also some of the other species of Vibrio, Parahemolyticus, Aglanictos. Once let us see a brief of Parahemolyticus. Actually they are capsulated. This cholera are non-capsulated, but they are capsulated and they show the bipolar staining, that is important. And they can grow only in the sodium chloride medium, that is also halophilic. And the pathogeny, all strains are pathogenic in this Hemolyticus. Only those strains which show Kangwana phenomenon can cause food poisoning. So this is important, Kangwana phenomenon. So what is this Kangwana phenomenon? When grow on high salt blood agar, they produce a hemolysis associated with marine food. Abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting and fever characteristic food poisoning. Oh, now let us see about alginolyticus. Alginolyticus resembles like parahemolyticus only, but the culture it is most halophilic vibrio even it is, and can tolerate 10% NaCl. It is sucrose fermented, and pathogenicity found in the sea fish. Of course, it is marine, so found in sea fish. And it causes infections of eyes, ears, wound in humans acquired by swimming in seawater. So be careful while swimming in seawater. And vulnificus, actually it's also morphologically resembles the parahemolyticus. The culture it can tolerate 8%. If you remember the later one, that is Aglainiticus, it can tolerate 10% NaCl, but this vulnificus can tolerate 8% NaCl. It is also a lactose fermenter. That Alginiticus is sucrose fermented and vulnificus is lactose fermented. And pathogenicity causes wound infection following contact of wounds with seawater. So all this parahemolyticus, alginolyticus and vulnificus are because of due to seawater, that is mainly due to the seawater infections. And the septicemia in persons with pre-existing hepatic disease following the consumption of contaminated raw oysters. So never to have any food in a form of raw, so always we need to cook it in a 100 in a proper temperature and avoid this all kind of infections.